Do not forget to subscribe, guys. I make videos every day on boxing, and do not forget to thumbs this video up if you enjoyed it. Have you guys heard what VITALI Klitschko had to say recently to, I believe, TalkSport.com? He said that he wanted to tear Anthony Joshua's head off. Like, he wanted to decapitate this man when he witnessed his brother, his younger brother, Vladimir Klitschko, getting knocked out, get starched out, and get beat up against Anthony Joshua 2 years ago. And if you guys remember, after the fight, there was like a little confrontation after the VITALI Klitschko. The Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko fight. You saw VITALI Klitschko kind of go up to Anthony Joshua's face. Now, when it comes to VITALI Klitschko is a guy that always wanted to avenge his brother's losses. Because if you guys look back at Vladimir Klitschko's history, every time Vladimir Klitschko would lose to a guy, guess who would come in and basically beat the guy who beat him? VITALI Klitschko. Right? VITALI Klitschko was like the guy who was like, hey, you beat up my little brother, now you got to fight me, and I'm going to whoop your ass. Right? He did it against Corey Sanders when Corey Sanders beat Vladimir Klitschko. Like a couple of months later, he fought Corey Sanders and beat the crap out of him. What's his name? Samuel Peters gave Klitschko a tough night. I think he knocked him down like 3 times in the first fight. That was a tough fight. And what did VITALI Klitschko do when he made his comeback? The first thing he did was fight the guy who gave Klitschko a tough night's work in his comeback. It was Samuel Peters, and he knocked him out cold. So I think VITALI Klitschko is just being a big brother. You know, he wanted to fight Anthony Joshua because he didn't like seeing his little brother Vladimir Klitschko get starched out like that. But of course, the reason he couldn't do it is because his age, right? VITALI Klitschko was just way too in his 40s to be coming back. You know, VITALI Klitschko has now fought since he retired against Manuel Charles. That was his last professional fight. I think that was in September of 2012. So this man has not fought in almost 7 years. And when he last fought against Emmanuel Charles, he went on to obviously vacate his belt because he didn't fight for like 2 years. Then he vacated his belt, and he officially retired in 2014. And that was how, of course, obviously he was the WBC champion. That was how, of course, Mr. Bermane Stiverne ended up fighting for the vacant title. And of course, we know the history of what happened with the WBC. Ended up going in the hands of Deontay Wilder when he beat Stiverne. So, yeah, by the time that fight happened, he was just too late. Like, now, if this fight would have taken place like in 2013, and let's say Joshua was around back then and he would have beaten Klitschko, then I have a big feeling VITALI Klitschko would have come back from retirement. And he would have attempted to challenge Anthony Joshua because he was a lot younger back then. But it was just his age. But funny enough, you know, VITALI Klitschko was a good fighter. I was a fan of VITALI Klitschko's style. I think he was very aggressive. I think he was more aggressive than his brother Vladimir Klitschko, because Vladimir Klitschko was more of a, although you know in his last fight against Anthony Joshua, he really became aggressive in that fight. But Vladimir Klitschko traditionally throughout his career was more of a kind of robotic fighter, was more of a, I'm just going to keep you behind my jab type of fighter, dominate you behind my jab, and if I get the knockout, I get the knockout, but if I go to decision, I go to decision. He was never really an aggressive fighter. He was never really an inside fighter, right? And that's why a lot of people used to complain about like his style. People didn't really. I remember a lot of people saying that he was a boring type of heavyweight, and I understood that. You know, he was type of dull, and some, you know, in his last few fights he was exciting. I thought in his last few fights he was actually in exciting fights. For example, when he fought Kurat Pulev, I thought that was exciting. Obviously, when he fought Anthony Joshua, that was exciting. But I get what they're saying. Like especially like in the middle part of his reign as champion, like I'm talking about 2009, 10, 11, 12, he was kind of just kind of dull to watch. So I understand that, but I always thought VITALI Klitschko was exciting to watch because VITALI Klitschko was way more of a risk taker than Vladimir Klitschko. Like, he was a guy who would be willing to fight a guy in the inside. He would be willing to make it into a street fight and just fight you toe to toe. He had, you saw it when he was young, and he fought Lennox Lewis, right? That was a street fight. And look at, Vitaly Klitschko showed a lot of heart in that fight, or Vitaly Klitschko. But yeah, it would have been intriguing to see that fight if Vitaly Klitschko was younger. That would have been a great fight, actually. But obviously, it was just the age thing. He was just, and obviously, I think he's a president. Isn't he a president? I know he's something he's something to do. He does something political in the political game, Mr. Vitaly Klitschko. So yeah, he shouldn't be worrying about that. But it just goes to show, he's still a fighter. Even though now he's like he does something he's in politics or whatever. And I think it's I already forgot, Clave or something in some country over there. But he's still a fighter deep down inside, right? He still is a fighter, and he still wants to fight Anthony Joshua. But obviously that fight should not happen just because the age and the inactivity. Yeah, that's all I have to say, guys. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thumbs the video up if you happen to enjoy this video. Thanks for watching, people. Bye bye.